Some teams are climbing the standings, while others are losing grip of their place at the top. We'll see who can recover or continue their surge as we jump into our games today.
Cheers.
Getting that morning coffee. Cheers to that. I hear you on an early Sunday. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we post some second-round robin overreactions and rank the mid laners in the league until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champions Select. Now, the Summer Finals presented by Rocket Mortgage is fast approaching, and because a number of fans reached out about missing their opportunity to sign up for Verified Fan, the LCS has moved up the general sale of tickets to Thursday, July 18th. So be ready on the 18th, and we'll see you at the Little Caesars Arena on Saturday, August 24th, and Sunday, August 25th. For more information, go to riot.com/Detroit. Now, for what feels like the first time all split, we got one team holding on to first, and who better to claim it than the reigning champions, Team Liquid. But the teams in second aren't far off as they all sit tied at 7-4, with teams in the lower half of the standings trading blows as we approach the end of the summer split. It is time to make some completely reasonable statements, though, as we move into overreactions. First up, a big one. Echo Fox are surging.
I wouldn't call us surging yet, but...
Well, that was quickly
Well, all
answered.
right. Yeah, thank you very much, Apollo, for weighing in on that.
I'm glad he went first, because I was about to say.
They're surging.
Oh, yeah.
But they are on an upward trajectory. I think they put a couple more wins together like they have, and you might be able to make that claim.
Eventually.
Yeah, definitely not surging.
It needs a lot more work.
All right, this one might be a little bit tougher to call. FlyQuest and 100 Thieves will make playoffs.
No.
Overreaction.
Overreaction, okay.
I agree. I think the problem is the conjunction in the middle with and. If you told me one of these teams, Fly or 100 Thieves will, I'd probably say it's a pretty fair statement because both feel like they're on the upward swing. They're surging.
They can.
And they can grab one of the two playoff spots available. But with 5 teams fighting for 2, the fact that both of these are going to be the teams that win makes it kind of unlikely.
You either change the and to an or the will to a can.
Well, if you put can,
Right.
then anything is possible.
Well, except for the teams that are mathematically
Which are none yet.
Right, which are none yet, but we can also talk about how a team in FlyQuest's position, for example, has never made playoffs. So it has also never happened before. If they were to do it, they'd be the first team
Yeah, I
to.
think it was 8 and 10 or 9.
8 and 10 has made it into
Yeah.
playoffs before, but
No 2 and 17.
Yeah, no 2 and 17, which was a record they were sitting at, has made it to playoffs. So just speaking to the run they have to make.
It's still crazy to think that a team has made it with a negative win rate.
I mean, it can happen. If there's like 3 teams that are collecting all the wins and only losing to each other, the rest of the playoff teams can easily be below a 500 win rate.
So it can be done, but it will be a tall order for both of those squads to do it. We've begun this discussion before, but if they were both to make it, which are the 2 teams that fall out of the top 6?
Golden Guardians Optic. Bam.
Thank
Answered
you.
it right there.
All right, those are the ones. Next up and final overreaction. North America has learned from Rift Rivals.
Maybe a little bit, right? It's
So then it's not.
It's like you went to the course and they passed you, but you didn't pass with flying. The teacher's like, you know what? Just don't come back here. Here you go. Like, you did okay.
It's like you know, but you're not quite doing yet. So like I think people are doing more interesting things in draft. They're learning that they can be more creative. They can run an Azir top and win a game, but I don't think they've quite completely embodied and understood the aggressive play style, as
Right.
well as exactly how much flexibility you can put into your draft before it goes a little too far.
The degree of learning and or the level of success they've achieved from their learnings could be debated, but we are arguing that our teams have at least picked up something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But until we get to the point where we say the league has leveled up,
As a
then we
result
can
of
say
it.
we've
Okay.
really learned.
Right, fair enough. Well, we kick off the day with FlyQuest aiming to take down Team Liquid, then another chapter in the long-standing bout between Cloud9 and TSM, with 3 more games before LCS cooldown, which has Amazing and Fake God from 100 Thieves testing their Scion skills on the Speedway. Then Cloud9 Academy versus TSM Academy to wrap up the weekend. Looking at Game 2, though, we have another clash between Cloud9 and TSM, which has both teams aiming to keep up with Team Liquid in that race for a playoff bye.
Big news though, Sven's coming back, baby.
That is huge
The
news.
borderline MVP candidate that a lot of people have been throwing around. I'm really excited to see him back because I felt like in their game yesterday, there might have been a lack of experience on the team with both top and jungle being relatively young players. And so even though Blabber played good, he wasn't playing MVP caliber good, which is what we're expecting to see out of Sven today.
I'm not too worried about the top lane because it was the jungler for Academy, Blabber, and the top laner for Academy as well. So they had this synergy, they have snowballed wins, and they crushed an Academy. I'm more concerned about the bottom lane. What went on down there? Because Sneaky and Zeyzal got bodied by Apollo and Hakuho. And when you have a team that's bringing in rookies, or not rookies, not necessarily LCS players, you got to count on your veterans to hold down the fort, and the veterans were the ones that were running it down, and the rookies were the ones that were succeeding. I need to see these guys step it up. When you have Kuma in the lineup, when you're no longer going to have Licorice, they need to step up their game. Otherwise, more losses are going to come down. It's unacceptable that you lost to the Echo Fox team that was 2-7 when they had an easy win to get to first place and remain at the top, and now they're tied with TSM.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that Sven Skaaren comes in and removes a 40 CSD in lane without jungler interference from either team. So I totally agree on that point that like, the bot lane needs to step it up, and they haven't been very impressive all split long, and it feels like they're kind of letting the top half of the map carry, and then the game when they don't carry, they end up losing.
You talk about Sven Skaaren coming back into the lineup for C9, makes the jungle matchup very interesting. Acadian has been pretty vocal about recently working on his confidence, having the confidence to make the plays instead of second-guessing himself while maybe worrying about, you know, the idea of losing his starting position to another jungler. So with TSM more landing on Acadian recently, up against Sven Skaaren, this will be his time to prove himself, because we know that Sven does not second-guess his decisions.
Yeah, I think Sven is going to be a challenge, but I have seen Acadian do well in pressure situations. When we went to St. Louis in Game 5, like he was playing pretty well throughout that series. So I think that it's all a matter of how confident is he as opposed to who he's up against, because it seems like it doesn't really matter. It's all in his own head, and as long as he can get out of it and just play well, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, in that playoff run, he had 2 horrible games at the start of their series versus C9, and then they reverse swept them. And yes, Sven was playing, so he's beaten Sven in a playoff series before. He just needs to remember that he can do that.
The confidence should be there. Ablazed Olive and Golden Glue will be joining us after C9 versus TSM to break down that matchup, and you're not going to want to miss that. We are going to take a quick break. When we return, though, these analysts share their mid lane tier list. We'll see how they stack rank the likes of Bjergsen and Niski when we return. Welcome back to the LCS Countdown. We're about 20 minutes away from the first game of the day. Before we jump into tier lists, I want to look at the barometers by which you guys gauge the players in this role. So for the mid lane, what are the characteristics you're judging these players by?
I think the first thing has to be champ diversity, given the current meta we're in and how much you can do from the mid lane and how that works with your team. So if you're the hard carry, you're the supportive player, what are you bringing to your team?
I also want to see champions that are viable and good. It's not just, oh, I can play anything. Like, no, can you play the Twisted Face? Can you play the Kion? Like, are you good at Azir and Corki? And so forth.
Yeah, I think the other 2 obvious ones as well are mechanics, which you're going to see most usually represented by DPM, CSD, goal difference, those kinds of things.
Some of the more lane focused.
Some of the more lane focused and numerical factors, as well as there's game sense and macro, so how well you work with your team, jungle proximity, how well you are able to make good decisions to help the rest of your team out and communicate with them.
And a big one for me was volatility, and it kind of ties into consistency, but it's more of how likely is this player to lose you the game? How many times does it happen that they make the individual game-losing mistake or are just really a big contributing factor? Because I want to see a team that has that to a bare minimum, and so you'll see in my list, the guys at the top typically are the least likely to lose you the game, and the guys at the bottom are the ones that, oh boy, here we go again. There's a good chance it's run down.
Right. That's interesting. So looking less necessarily at the top end of their performances and more at the bottom end of their performances, and making sure that bottom level rises.
Exactly.
All right. Well, with those conditions in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at both of your tier lists.
Let's take a look.
Where you agree, where you disagree. Bjergsen at the top of both lists.
Okay.
Jensen and Niski taking spots 2 and 3, and then we get a whole slew of differences as we move down the map.
Pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, the top 3 are...
In general, the groupings, I think, are similar.
The top 3 is pretty obvious. I think Niski is one that I
was
almost
gonna
put
say.
number 1. The more I dug into his stats, the more impressive he looked. He has the highest forward percentage, highest jungle proximity, so he's an early game factor where he gets a lot of attention, but he also has the most kills in the league. He has the highest kills and assists at 15 per game by over any other mid laner. So
highest KDA of all mid laners.
Yeah, he is an absolute workhorse for C9 and the biggest factor in their early game, as well as having, pretty consistent performances outside of laning phase. So he looks like the most aggressive playmaker for me. I just couldn't put him over Bjergsen.
Then let's talk about the mystique that is Bjergsen and why he still gets the number one spot in spite of everything that Mark just listed.
When we were at St. Louis and we had the conversation, Doublelift versus Bjergsen, who's the GOAT, it was Doublelift who was saying that the big thing about Bjergsen is that both his skill floor and skill ceiling are pretty much at the same time. He's so consistent. He's not going to lose you the game. He's always going to deliver. If you get him to a certain stage in whatever champion he's on, he's going to do well. And you can't say that for anybody else. Every other player has times where they run it down and you're thinking, okay, something happened in the mid lane. Bjergsen will never do that to you, and that's why he's in first in both our lists, I think.
And the champ flexibility that you're talking about is really important. He can play the TF and the Zillion, as well as the Akali and the Sylas and the
Zoes.
The Zoes. He can play it all.
Literally, what do you need me to play? I can do it.
Yeah, whatever the strategy is, sometimes you might disagree with, like, why you're still playing Azir, but you're a goddamn great Azir. So, it's kind of hard to criticize, whereas some other people are more limited.
Right, all right, fair enough. So Bjergsen tops the charts, Jensen and Niski to follow. Now let's dive into some of the more interesting, meaty stuff. I'm looking over at Crumbs' list. I see Power of Evil takes spot number 4. On yours, Mark, he's sitting in the 6th place slot. So let's talk about this guy.
So I like Power of Evil because, for one, his meta and champion pool is pretty nice, right? It's not going to be the crazy assassins. He's not going to run you the Aurelius. But when he runs the control mages, they almost always work. You know what you're getting out of him. And he has carry potential. He will carry you the game. But what he won't do is he won't run it down for you. His LeBlanc might not be the greatest, but he's going to be consistent. You know what you can get out of him every single time. And when we look at Mark's clump, which is the same of Crown, Froggen, and Power of Evil, I put PoE over these two because specifically just yesterday, we were seeing that for Crown, he still has those individual mistakes that I think prevent him from being at the top. If Crown was as an S-tier performance, he could be number 1. But right now, he's not. And Froggen, I think he's still struggling too much with his team. I like that he's a consistently good player, but how many times has it happened that the team continues to fail to work around him? And if it keeps happening so much, I have to start thinking that maybe it has something to do with him.
Well, I think the big problem for PoE for me is, as great as he has this late game insurance policy, he does very little in the early game, and very few of his picks in the meta are strong early game champions, and I feel like that's a bit of a liability. It's great that he has such a solid side lanes, as well as Wiggly is popping off, but I think you saw the problems that they ran into last split with him. I don't think he's playing substantially better. I think the rest of the team has shored up around him. But you can't count on him to get you early game leads quite like you can count on Froggen and Crown, who have some of the best early game laning statistics. I have some concerns about Froggen's champion pool maybe a little bit being a little too weird, and Crown, like you said, having some mistakes in the late game from a lack of synergy. But he is so good. He has the highest CSD at 15. He's an absolute stud. He has great kills and assists at 15. I think he's the 2nd highest there. So he puts a lot of work in the early game, works well with Meteos, and then yes, there are some problems in the mid to late game, but I still think that he is a huge factor for why Optic is even in the conversation for making playoffs when they don't have that many pieces around him.
He's has the most potential to just be the greatest out of all the pool here, I think. Crown is just stellar.
Right, so that is interesting because that tells me that you guys weight those factors more, differently. Again, you're looking at, okay, yeah, sure, Crown could be the reason I win the game, but Power of Evil will never be the reason I lose the game, right? And so I'm going to give Power of Evil the edge there. Let's talk about one very interestingly positioned player in Pobelter. I think just even if I isolate Crumbs' list, I think still seeing Pobelter at 8th it forces me to take a breath. Like, wow, this is a guy who's been in the league for a long time. I'm not disagreeing with it. I just think it's making that realization in your brain that, like, oh wow, Pobelter might not be that good at the moment. And then you even have him in last.
His own metric, volatility. He leads the league in deaths, not just amongst mid laners, in the league. He dies all the time. And yes, he's been playing better since Wadida's come in, and I think he's done substantially better in the last 2 or 3 games. He was still hard losing games for his team where he's 1 in 5 on Jason, things like that. I think he is much better than this. He should not be 10th, but what the performance he has put on the Rift puts him there right now.
I think that's really what it is, right? Like, we have so much history behind all these players, but this list is confined to the title right there, 2019 LCS Summer. And Pobelter, he's right. If he leads the league in deaths, I can totally understand why you have him at last. I didn't put him at last because I felt like he has had the ability to be stable. Yesterday, he had a pretty good showing, and he's getting back up there. But, you know, if you told me, oh, it was an accident, I could see him being down there, I was like, okay, yeah, because these three are kind of all in the same boat.
All right, fair enough. I mean, it aligns with FlyQuest's performance so far this split, right? Very, very tough until these last couple of weeks where you're starting to see some of the glimmers of the old FlyQuest, and maybe Pobelter will climb the list in the remaining weeks of the regular season. When the pressure's on to carry from the mid lane, though, a pro can look to masterfully execute a combo or aim a perfect snipe. But then there are the players who offer a little love tap just to say, I'm helping, presented by State Farm. In his game versus Golden Guardians, Pobelter uses Karki's package to deliver a squishy carry to the rest of his team.
Both around the wings does have the package as well. Going to be a big deal. Knockup's not quite going to land. There comes package across the squad. They got the front line locked up, and there comes Driven across the top. Hui low on health, and in goes the Vel'Koz damage. 1-for-0 to FlyQuest, making a second already.
Great engage from Pobelter. Watch this one more time on the bottom side of your screen. Follow Pobelter here on the Corki, and right here, knocking FBI straight into the knockup.
How are we gonna do him like that? We're talking about him in last place, and then we
right.
show a great play.
You're not playing so hot right now. Here's this awesome play you made there yesterday.
I said the last two games have been much better, and that's exactly proof of it.
All right, so that's why he made it to 8th.
There we go.
All right, well, game 1 gets going in just about 11 minutes. For now, though, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, it's more LCS Countdown. Welcome back to the LCS Countdown, where we're gearing up for game number 1 of the day. After months of downtime, the engineers swear to me that they've created a more engaging and amicable robot for the return of Jatt stats.
Oh, boy.
Don't trust
Hello,
that.
I am the new and improved Jatt stats. I'm hoping my recent encouragement patch will make this a more enjoyable experience. Let's
So are
jump
we.
right into question 1.
Okay.
Earlier,
let's hear it.
you did tier lists. I'm sure y'all did the bare minimum research, so this should be easy to answer.
Don't count on
What
that.
mid laner has the highest KDA in the LCS all time? Here's a hint. This player is actively playing.
Okay.
First of all,
First of all,
it's one of the 10 players on
why
that
would
list.
we research the all-time highest KDA
In making the summer tier list?
Summer tier list.
I like that our robot says y'all.
Y'all.
It's a y'all. robot.
Yeah, we're all
It's
friends here.
Bjergsen, right? It's gotta be.
You think it's Bjergsen?
That or Pobelter.
Hang on, but this
Or no, wait, Jensen's actually super high
This
KDA.
could be a little wishy-washy
bait and
because it could be
switch,
somebody
like
that played one game.
Right.
Scarlet, right? It could be Scarlet.
He's active though.
Right.
Playing.
Go with Scarlet?
I'm gonna go Jensen.
I like Jensen as the call.
No, you pick someone else.
No, but you were going to go
Scarlet?
Bjergsen.
I changed my mind.
Oh, come on.
Does Scarlet not count?
You
right, I'm
say
going
whatever you
Scarlet.
want to
I'm
say,
going
Crumbs.
Scarlet.
I'm not
think
jumping off that bridge
He
with
died
you.
a bunch of times.
I'm gonna go with.
remember.
I wanted to go with.
Let's split the vote. Bjergsen, Jensen. I took Jensen already.
Take Bjergsen.
I go with Niski because he's got the current highest KDA in the league, and he's only played so much of.
Look at you. So spry, so smart. The correct answer is TSM Bjergsen with a 5.9
You had it
KDA.
right.
Yeah. All right, that was too easy. That's why. That's
I
why he's
out-
number
I outthought
one
myself.
on our list.
Yeah.
That's like.
5.9
That's
career
amazing.
KDA though is actually insane.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
He's
hard.
been playing.
That's
He's
3
played
kills.
how many games? All right, next question.
Question 2. Of all the champions that have been played mid lane in the 2019 LCS Summer Split, which champion reigns supreme with the most picks?
In the mid lane, most champion pick.
Most picked. So. You know,
hard.
Irelia was played a lot, but
A
I
lot
think
of
it was
Corki.
spring. I think it was
Recently.
spring.
Corky's recent.
Yeah,
Recent.
but it's everywhere.
But that's the thing. There's a lot of Corki recently.
I
Is
think-
this
I'm gonna go
only
Azir.
LCS Summer?
I'm gonna go
Okay.
Azir. I think Azir. Yeah.
I feel like there's a really obvious one that's slipping through my mind right now
That could
that's
be
gonna
TF.
make me feel really
TF's
dumb.
been played a decent amount. I don't think an
Like
insane
remember at
amount
the
though.
start of spring,
There's
TSM played
Lissandras,
Azir.
but not a ton. There was, Power Vivo playing Victor, no Orianas. I like Azir as a call, and I like Corki as a call. Irelia would be an interesting one for if you're indexing like the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'll go
week
Corki.
Week one, TSM played Azir.
I'll go
so
Corki.
It was meta the whole time.
Yeah, I'll go as Azir.
Azir,
You can't take
and you're
my-
also Azir?
Why? You said Scarlet.
Once again, you're actually the best at what you do. You should definitely be proud of yourselves.
Is that
The correct
sarcasm?
answer is Azir with 15 picks.
Ah, look at the two of you.
We were thinking about
I
I
like
had to
good
think a
teamwork
lot. I was like,
there.
there has to be
There you go.
something. 15 is not
I
very
am
many.
failing
There's a
miserably.
lot.
That speaks.
No, that's not a lot.
Oh, I
we
thought
have
it
5
was-
games a day. We're weeks.
I thought it was a
6.
percent.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
speaks to the craziness.
On to the final question, which is multiple choice. Mid lane requires knowledge of many champions and matchups. 27 unique champions have been played in the mid lane this split. How many of them have also been played in different roles?
So Azir is 1.
A6, B8,
Yeah, Zir.
Oh wait, it's multiple choice.
C12.
Oh, okay.
D16.
Okay, six is
We
way
got
too low.
Azir,
Like 8 or
Rumble,
12. So
Lux,
Aurelia
Lux,
is your Rumble.
Aurelia,
Silas,
Has
Silas,
Cassio actually been played? Because she's been played top.
Pumi. They
Yeah,
played
exactly.
mid,
Yas-
so that's
Yasuo's
6. It's
been
at
played
least.
both.
I'm gonna go
Yasuo's
with.
been played bot lane.
It's C or D?
Singer's been
It's
played
C or
bot
D?
lane.
It's not A or B. Yeah.
It's got to be 12 or 16, right?
C.
I'll go
C.
12.
C.
Okay, we're all in together. 12.
Wait, I thought you said D.
No.
C.
12.
The correct answer is D16.
Damn it.
I
Isn't
tried to
that a
help you.
lot?
He did.
Thank you,
for trying.
analysts.
Thanks for trying to give
Isn't
me
it
one
great
today.
to get the band back together? You have a lovely day breaking down video game players. I'll see you on the flip
I don't know
side.
about the players themselves, but the games will definitely break those down. Thank you
we're
very
gonna
much,
break 'em.
Jatt, for making an
Jot
appearance. Jot Stots, if you will. That was a more amicable robot that time around. I feel amicable. I feel like he was much nicer.
There was a lot of undertone.
Yeah, it's
is that-
monotone, but I'm
You
sure
still felt the digs?
Yeah.
All right. Well, earlier, Invert shared that he thinks Fly's quest to improvement is about taking one game at a time and showing up for the fans.
We're not really focused on our record. We're taking everything game by game. And if we're the first people to do it, that'd be pretty cool too. So records are kind of not there to just be followed as destiny. They're there to be broken. So if that's a thing that we can do, then we'll be able to do that. But we're going to take it game by game, make sure we treat every opponent with the respect they deserve, and go out there and play our best. The break helped our success a lot. We were able to rediscover our identity as a team and make sure that we really focus on that and focus on being able to provide the fans the best viewing experience and get the wins that we need.
I mean, if I was 3-7, I also wouldn't focus on our record. So that's a start.
I agree with what he's saying about like records can be broken. I mean, just last year was like no one's ever come back from 1-5 and made playoffs, and then C9 did it and almost
Exactly.
made finals. So like 2-7, sure, why not?
Right.
You can do it.
Just challenge yourselves to be the first to do it. I like it. Feels like after cruising in last place, though, the FlyQuest have the opportunity here to complete an unlikely bounce back from where they are now into playoff positioning.
Yeah, I mean, the number of wins that they've picked up recently, you know, Wadid, after finally getting in, is playing well. He has a nice positive outlook to the game. Pobelter has also been stepping up, like we were saying. Yes, very disappointing initially, but he's doing better. And Viper's still Viper. He can have these insane carry pop-off performances on Riven. So everything looks great for this team in their playoff chances with one big problem.
They only have so much time to do it.
And they're playing Team Liquid today.
Oh, there's that as well.
That's a big problem.
But if you put these players on paper, you'd say, wow, this is a stacked roster. They
very
have
solid
a lot of accomplishments, and then you got a rookie that's popping off. So it doesn't make sense for them to have this record. They are better than this. So for us to say, yeah, they can make it to playoffs, it's a good chance. But they're starting from a negative position, which makes it so much harder with a TL opponent today that I don't think you're going to get away with a Riven that's going to pop off. Impact has been solid in the top.
Yeah, that GP last game, oh my God, the E-Star was very impressive to see how he was able to basically neutralize the Renekton. And I mean, yeah, Riven should beat GP, but it's Impact's GP, and you have to deal with the fact the rest of Team Liquid's playing extremely well. So it's going to be an uphill battle for FlyQuest.
Well, so then, but this is interesting, right? Because it's like the contrast of FlyQuest's record, which says like, oh man, they don't stand a chance against Team Liquid, next to FlyQuest's kind of immediate improvements, or if we isolate their last few games, we're like, okay, maybe they do have a chance, at least to some degree. And then you look over at TL and you're like, oh no, Impact is a god, and if Viper is the primary win condition for FlyQuest, and with Pobelter arguably underperforming, at least over the entirety of the split, against Jensen, who's sitting top 3 on your list, I don't know where FlyQuest wins all of a sudden.
I think they definitely have a chance. I remember the game last spring where Xmithy was out jungling Santorin. It was Rek'Sai versus Skarner, but they slowly found their way back into the game with a few team fights, a few picks from the Skarner pick that allowed them to claw back into the game. So they did fall behind early, which probably will happen, but hey, they have beat Team Liquid before.
All right, well, you think they can do it. Let's see if you think they will do it. Nope. With predictions. Oh, hey, look at that. Nobody does. But Team Liquid is the call for the first game of the day. We do have a discrepancy in that second one. TSM versus Cloud9. Again, Sven Skaren coming back into the lineup to give Acadian a run for his money. Mark, why is it that you think C9 will come away with that win?
I'm a big Sven stan, as well as the fact that I don't think the bot lane problems get easily.
Sven stan?
Stan, yeah, I'm a stan.
Yeah.
And then also, I think the bot lane problems that we're seeing are not going to get punished that much by TSM's bot lane, who doesn't play that aggressively. So I think it'll give more time and freedom for Sven.
All right, fair enough. That's game 2 of the day. First up, we got Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. With that, we're going to toss it out to the battle arena for the call.
Thank you.